Ringer. I'm your host, Tate Frazier, and he's back in the building in Los Angeles. Cousin Sal,
Great to see you, buddy.
Great to see you. A long time. It was a long week. I missed you.
had the week off. Who filled in for me, by the way?
We had such a great show.
Who was it?
It was so good.
Yeah?
It was so good. Go look it up. You're going to go watch it right now.
Oh, right now? All right. We have some stuff
We missed you, though, because there was a lot happening in the world. We got Cousin Sal back in studio. We got a lot to get to. We're going to go play my favorite game, over-under reaction. Did you miss it? Was it a long week as you waited to get back into this?
You know, I got to be honest. I left. I was like, I'm really not going to miss any of that. And then when I was like in Mexico, laying on the beach drinking a non-alcoholic pina colada, I was like, no, I don't miss it at all.
Oh, I know. You should have stayed there. Yeah, but you're back, and we appreciate you coming back. Now we're going to play my favorite game. Let's do it. Over-under reactions. I give you something here, Sal, and you try to figure it out. Let's start with Adam Silver. Adam Silver has replaced Gary Bettman as the worst commissioner of the four major sports. Over or under reaction?
What you did there. How the mighty have fallen, right, with Adam Silver. I hope when he falls, I mean, he's got those giant ears to break his fall, so he'll be okay. Well, I'm going to say this is a little bit of an overreaction because I think the NBA runs on autopilot, and for better or worse, Adam Silver's kind of just there, right? Like, you got these athletes who do a great job of promoting themselves on social media, creating beefs that don't exist, but they don't, maybe some of them want to play so hard on the court, right?
Yeah.
And so I get it. Why, when an All-Star weekend runs around, I think this is why you're saying this, because it was such a disaster in many people's eyes.
A lot of finger-pointing happened,
A lot of finger-pointing. So, and hockey with Gary Bettman took a step up with the Fatal Four-Way, whatever the hell it was called.
Is this good for Adam Silver? Because there's been a lot of people, obviously, that throw out the, Gary Bettman is the worst, or, Roger Goodell's the worst. It might be good for him to be considered the worst. Maybe he can then change the momentum that way, right?
If you're considered the worst, you could go on and do great. You could become president of the United States.
That's what they say. That's what I've heard. Yeah, there's a lot of things that can happen. Next up, I say to you, Sal, Aaron Rodgers won't be a starter in the NFL next season. Over or under reaction? What say you?
I think... Oh man, this
I like
is
this.
tough.
You're thinking about it.
This is a good one. All right, I'm gonna say underreaction. I don't think he's gonna be a starter. I don't think he should be. I think enough GMs have tape on him, and I get it. His stats ended up being decent compared to what he's used to the last couple of years. But if you look at it, he took him out of a lot of games. His good stats came in games that didn't matter. It came in garbage time. I don't think there's one non-playoff team that he could bring to the playoffs. Can we go by that? Is there anyone? Who do you think? You think he could take the Steelers to the playoffs?
That's the name that everyone's been throwing out, the Steelers, for sure. It does feel like the Matthew Stafford situation where maybe Stafford goes somewhere else, gets paid more, and then maybe Aaron Rodgers tries to slide in there and take his job. That could happen.
Let him eat ayahuasca watching Jeopardy in a cave in Brazil somewhere. Forget it.
Yeah.
Football's done with you.
It's done. Take a break. Have some fun out there. Next up, the Cowboys should trade Micah Parsons. Wow. Over under reaction. What say you, Sal?
I'm going to say overreaction. I hope they don't trade him. I like to see them win with him, with this team, right? He deserves it. The fact that they say they're going to be selectively aggressive in free agency just drives me crazy. Selectively aggressive sounds like a lawsuit filed against Jerry Jones by a waitress at a steakhouse in Dallas. But the Parlay Kid and I were talking about this. We're lifelong Cowboys fans. These guys say exactly what you don't want to hear. The Stephen Jones, the Jerry Jones. I really don't think I've ever been down on this team as much as I have. Can I just join you with the Panthers?
Yeah, let's get the bag out. Yeah. We just put it over your head.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Oh, man.
It's a tough feeling.
Don't trade Micah.
Well, good news is that it does seem like Parsons is not going to get traded. It does feel like it's a lot of prognostication, right?
It's not good for him, but yeah, I guess it's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's all right. Next up, Sal, the three-cone drill is the most useless event at the NFL Combine. Over or under reaction?
I'm going to say under reaction. We try to figure out what this is because I think the three-cone drill actually contains 4 cones.
Yes.
Which is interesting. So I feel like they just needed an extra event, and they started throwing cones on the field, like, hey, let the kids play, keep them busy. But you're never going to see, it's useless. You're not going to see guys meandering on the field for speed or agility for anything in a synchronized fashion. You're just not going to. Do you like the 3-cone rule?
I think it's okay. I think the worst part is the Wonderlic, right? I mean, I feel like that test, Mo Claiborne, right, is the one. He got a 4, I think, on the Wonderlic. And another Cowboy. And ended up being, a really good player, but didn't do so well in the test. So I feel like the test is like a way to kind of go after and stick it to somebody.
Interesting.
So
how did he do with the cones, though? That's the thing. I actually looked up the 3-cone thing. Sorry to go back to it. I mean, I feel like you might as well do bottle flipping. In 2018, Jordan Thomas broke the 3-cone record at 6.28 seconds. And he was drafted in the 6th round, 211th overall by the Texans. They're like, wow, you were really good with the cones. You know what? We'll wait till the very, very end.
Yeah,
if
last
you're there, you're there. If not, so be it.
Yeah, so be it. We'll move on. I think a lot of people will be watching to see what happens, and the 3-cone drill we will be watching. Next up, Sal, UConn St. John's is currently the best rivalry in college basketball. Over under reaction?
Well, I want to hear your thoughts. Who cares what I have to say about the? I mean, this has to crush you, right? You need it to be Duke UNC.
Yeah.
You don't want something else. The problem is this Danny Hurley is so nuts. He's going to create his own rivalries just by being him, right? So you pull St. John's into the mix. They're doing very well. UConn on their way down. I'd say top 2. I think overreaction. You still got to go UNC, Duke, right?
Yeah, I think it's always Carolina Duke, but it is fun to have Patino versus Hurley and have those two guys kind of. Last year it was the opposite where UConn was unstoppable. St. John's was trying to be in the fight. This year it is completely switched, so it's a lot of fun. Good rivalry.
I feel like he screwed up by not taking the Laker job now, and he's going to make everyone pay for it. Everyone in his way.
He could have Luka and LeBron live in Los Angeles.
There's Sister Jean cursing the DePaul cheerleaders. That's also a rivalry.
Yeah, there's a lot of people talking about maybe there's a situation where the Pop-Tart takes Sister Jean's job as the mascot.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's what some people are saying. So
oh, my God.
A lot happening in college basketball. Keep an eye on that. Next up, Alexander Ovechkin still isn't a top 5 NHL player of all time. Over under reaction. How do you feel about Ovi?
We got some crazy hockey fans in the booth there who will be able to weigh in better than I'm going to say. You know what? I'm going to say under reaction. You got Gretzky or Lemieux, not Gretzky or Lemieux. Gretzky, Bobby Orr, Lemieux,
right.
Howe, Yager, Rocket Richard. Maybe he was first to 500 back when that wasn't the thing that was happening. I feel like this is the biggest achievement with the least noise in the history of the 4 sports, to be honest with you.
Why is that? Do you just feel like we decided that we don't like Ovi for some reason?
Yeah, he's a Russian spy, and people can't get over that.
It does feel like it's a little bit personal.
I don't know that he's a spy. I can't prove that. I'm going to jail, aren't I?
Yeah, he's no Wayne Gretzky. That's all we know. Next up, Sal, changing their facial hair policy was the New York Yankees' best offseason move. Over under reaction.
I'm going to say under reaction. Is the Ringer going to change theirs now?
I think so.
John Jastremski's coming up, right?
Yes.
I think, Like, can he even grow hair?
I think we're going to have to ask him. We're going to get him on, and we'll ask him about this.
All right,
and do some
ask
research.
him. It's dumb with the Yankees with this. You can't shave. Did they tell you can't brush your teeth? You can't do that? Well, you can't. Don't dream of clipping your toenails, Giancarlo Stanton. Like, enough. Let everyone have facial hair. This is the way to do it. Watch, they'll make $1 billion off a Gillette endorsement too now.
What do you think about, like, just big picture, the fact that you made this decision to do this?
I didn't make this.
Oh, yeah, you didn't do this.
I did?
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I was going to blame you for this, but it sounds like you didn't do that, so we're fine. Shout out to the Yankees. They figured it out. Last one, Mr. Beast will be hosting the Oscars within 3.5 years. Over under reaction. Do you believe, Sal?
No, it'll be interesting. All right, look under your chair, Meryl Streep. If this glob of whatever you're grabbing, if it has a coin in it, you can win $10 million. That would be interesting. You know, it's a miracle my cousin Jimmy got to host 4 times because they're very precious, the Oscar people, about having a connection. The host should have a connection to movies. So I don't even know how that happened. So unless Mr. Beast, stars in Conclave 2, Electric Boogaloo, I don't think it's going to happen.
I feel like it would be a bridge too far. Idiocracy, we're right on the verge of Idiocracy, and I feel like if Mr. Beast is there and he's walking out and he's making, Timothy Chalamet come out and do whatever little bit they got going, I think we're going to be in a tough situation or, situation at large. So there you go. Let's call up the Riverboat captain. Let's have some fun. The question is simple, Sal, and they're asking this. In honor of the Oscars this weekend, what was the best sports movie performance of all time? We got the odds here. Sylvester Stallone, Rocky 3-1. We got Ralph Macchio, The Karate Kid at 10-1. We got Hilary Swank, $1 Million Baby 25-1. We got Popcorn Delights, I believe.
Popcorn Delights,
Delights, yes, of Seabiscuit 75-1 in the field at even odds. What do you like here, Sal?
Oh man, there are so many that haven't been mentioned. Rosie O'Donnell in League of Their Own.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I went to first.
That's a good
one.
The one. I mean, when Rosie is dressing down Madonna for being a little promiscuous with some of the other players, the players' husbands or something. I mean, not a dry eye in the house, and I don't know how that she didn't win an award for that. I'm going to take the Popcorn Delights at 75-1 for playing Seabiscuit. I can't believe that wasn't a bigger deal. That Popcorn Delights wasn't nominated for that? How was there not a PETA protest outside of the Academy Awards ceremony?
Yeah, this is too much. The fact that they weren't able to acknowledge this at 75-1, I think it's a good number.
I'd like to see a nice turd on the red carpet. It would have been fun to see it have its moment.
I think that's great. I am going back and forth. I feel like Space Jam is somewhere in there. Michael Jordan did a great job, so maybe I can do that at even odds. But plus 75-1 odds there, I feel like. That's good. And Seabiscuit, great movie. So there you go.
Yeah,
so,
thank you.
checked it out.
I get that.
We did it.
Right.
Now I turn it over to you. I'm going to let you set the lines.
Okay, yes.
These
are fake prop bets, right? I'm going to throw at you. Maybe they should make them real. Come on, FanDuel, step up.
FanDuel.
But you can't find this on FanDuel as of now. But I'm going to throw this at you. Over under 29.5 games for Joel Embiid for the rest of his career. That will be the most games he plays in a season. 29.5. Do you go over or under? He had 39 last year. He has 19 this year. He's shut down. Seems to be going in the wrong direction, and that direction is face first onto the hardwood every other
I don't think he
series.
plays that many games. I think he's
Really?
shutting it down. It does
Under.
feel like, it's the under. It does feel like they've had a conversation. They're saying we're done with this. Joel Embiid is moving on. It feels like the reset of this Philadelphia team, and I like the under there.
31 next year, right? Knee, meniscus. What did he have? He had that orbital thing where he had
a lot
the
going
mask.
on,
There's
right.
so much. He stubbed his toe, dropping a disc track. Okay, that's I'm with you. I go under there. All right,
like
plus
it.
800. There's been talk at these winter meetings or whatever that they're going to try to propose to do away with the tush push. There was an unnamed team, and then the team was named. It was the Packers.
The Packers,
who pushed
right.
for this.
Yes.
Like, yeah, we have a name. We're the Packers. Plus 800 that it gets banned or modified this season.
I'm going to take it. I'm going to take plus
Really?
800. I do think they're going to
Wow.
do this. Maybe not this year, but I do think it's going to happen. It
Okay.
feels like the more we talk about this and the more they show examples of injuries that could occur, it feels like everybody's anti. So plus 800, I like the number.
I think Sirianni said today that he's like, this is actually insulting because we work a lot on that play. It's like, yeah, well, it doesn't belong in football, so you work it however you want on it.
I like it. Plus 800. Let's
They
take
should
it.
retaliate and say the Lambeau leap is in violation of something. All right, last one, over under 3.5 weekly Ringer podcasts that discuss this week's episode of White Lotus.
Oh, wow.
Do we make it 4?
Yeah, I think we're close, right? We're going to talk about it. You're watching.
Well, we're
You
talking
like
about it now.
Yeah,
so
so we're in the
we're
mix.
officially
So I'm going to
over.
take the over. I think we're all talking about
Okay.
it. Everybody.
What do you
got
think?
Carolina Duke, you got
love
that whole
that
thing?
family.
Yeah.
You love it.
My mom's not happy about this. She
Really?
said she does not see any sort of connection between her and the North Carolina, mom in the show. So.
Right. What about the connection between the brother and the connection we don't
Oh,
want to
yeah,
see
we don't
between
like
the two
that. We don't-
brothers?
yeah,
There
we don't
might be
like that.
another
That's not
connection.
good.
The mother wants them to go to Duke or the father?
I think the mother wants them to go to
Carolina.
but the oldest brother, went to Duke.
The mother's a little bit of a mess.
Yeah.
The father, too, for sure.
I think everybody's a
I
mess.
can't take the 3 friends, the female. I can't do it. I can't watch it. It's an exposition marathon here. Enough.
Well, there you go. 4
Have something
different
happen.
podcasts or shows that are going to be talking about this. So, take the over
All right,
there.
we're over. We went over there.
I like it. It's a fun show. Go check out all of the White Lotus, conversations that we're having here at The Ringer. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got more with Cousin Sal. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Thru the Ringer. We're here with Cousin Sal. We're having some fun. We got some best bets, Sal.
Yeah.
You're done with football, right? We got a long time before we get back to the NFL.
192 days. We're right there.
You're
We're
counting
right
all
there.
these days. Just for you, you got baseball coming up, college basketball.
Okay.
Are you okay post football? Where do you stand right now?
I got to tell you, you have to have. It's important to have something to look forward to.
Right.
And Tate, you and I will be at the Kimmel Comedy Club
Oh,
March
yeah.
20th and March 21st.
Very excited.
We're going to blow it out. We're going to have a watch party.
Yeah.
There's going to be a prize for someone who can get through our bracket of
Right.
mischief, right?
People are going to be going there, going after Harry.
I don't know if people are going to be
Yeah.
going there. I don't know. I don't want to say that because then they don't show up. But yes, Harry will be there. Brett Ernst, comedian. So it's going to be fun. So yes, that I have to look forward to. And then, more depression.
Yeah, more depression, but we do have some fun times in March. March is right around the corner. We're very excited about that. Let's talk about the NFL Combine because that's also a big, topic. There's been a lot of moments during the Combine throughout history. What are you looking at as far as props that you like as far as the NFL Combine?
Well, this is fun because they bracket it every day. There's a different position, right? So, looking early on, tomorrow, we will see the bench press record up at stake. How do you say that? 8-1 odds that's broken. And to break that, you have to have 50 or more. I don't know about that. The most reps this year is 35.5 is the over-under. So that's quite a difference between. I think we've gotten weaker as a nation is the problem between Ozempic and those, prime energy drinks is the problem. So that's why it's only 35.5. So they're only doing the bar this year, which is they're not putting weights on the end.
What are your thoughts on that too? I mean, the guys deciding not to actually do the combine. I mean, Shedeur Sanders says he doesn't want to do anything. Like, do you want these guys to do this, or do you feel like the combine's kind of old news at this point?
I want them to do everything. I want to see everything, but I also get like that's not gonna. The way Shedeur Sanders handles the frickin' 3 cones is not determine if you're gonna draft him or not. If he could avoid a sack. That's another thing. That's what they should do. They should have killer sharks in the combine or something and see what Shedeur does. But the way the combine's set up, it doesn't address what I'm concerned about with Shedeur Sanders. So whatever.
I think it's a whatever. Are you going to be watching? Are you going to be focused?
I'll be watching a little bit.
Good.
Something like the bench press reps is something like betting that there will be a hole in one. You're not going to really know. And then like, all right, check out what happened on the 6 hole. I'll be shopping. I'll be at Ralph's or something in the produce aisle, and someone will alert me that it was broken.
I can't wait. I can't wait to watch this. I'm sure you and I will be texting about this. And I like you're going over there, right? For the
I'll
bench
go
press
over.
reps.
Why not?
Yeah.
Over 35.5 reps.
There you go. I love that. Next up, let's talk about Bronny James. This is an interesting one. So Bronny James will score 50-plus total points this season. You can get that at -125. Do you like that? Do you think Bronny's going to score more than 50 points?
All right. Well, let's do some math here, right? Because this is up on FanDuel. This isn't one of the dumb ones that I made up about, like, about the tush push or whatever. He has 19 points, right? And about 70% of the season is done. Now, full disclosure, we're recording this before Dallas Lakers, so maybe Luka dished to Bronny and he scored 32, and this is a moot point. He has 51. I don't think he gets from 19 to 50, though, in 30% of the games left. I don't know. Does he get a bonus? Is like LeBron gonna insist that he makes that bonus, the 50 points, and they put him in at the end? I mean, they're gonna need these games. It's not like there's a lot of garbage time for Bronny, I don't think.
I don't think so either, and it does feel like the no is the right answer. But he's doing well in the G League. This is obviously being on the actual team.
Those
different
points
than
don't
what
count.
He did. Yeah,
right?
those points do not count.
Yeah.
So I think that is the confusing part too, that you don't know, actually playing for the Lakers versus what he's doing in the G League. So I like that as a no. Next up, let's do the Wooden Award, and there are 2 guys that are battling for this. I will be voting, so I can't necessarily make a pick.
Oh, come on, do it.
I have a vote for the Wooden Award.
Yeah, but if you tell us who you're betting, then they'll take it from you.
Then they'll take the vote away from you.
Okay,
So,
all right.
But there's 2 guys.
Go ahead. Who are the 2?
Yeah, the 2 guys you can make the argument for. Cooper Flagg, obviously,
right.
who's doing great stuff for Duke right now. And if you look at Kimpom, he is the best we've seen since about 2015. So that just shows you how good he's been. And then we also got Janai Broome, obviously playing for Auburn right now. So those 2 guys, I mean, it does feel like it is Cooper Flagg, but Janai Broome has had a really good year.
So Flagg is favored at -155. But Broome, I think competition-wise, they would say, your friends who are voting on this, would say the SEC is better competition. He should get the nod. They're probably going to have 5 of the top 8 overall seeds. But I think there's too much hoopla surrounding Flagg. I really do. He's getting exposure, playing at the Garden, right? What he did against Illinois, like averaging 28 and 4, but the 28 and 4. I think his stats, though, are like they're taking him out early. I think he only played like 23 minutes against Illinois. So they're not concerned, Duke, about driving his numbers up. But I think, like I said, with all the hoopla, I think he's a good bet at -150.
And if you haven't watched and you only watched early, in the season against Kentucky, obviously Cooper Flagg struggled there. Right. He struggled at the start, kind of the season. But since we've gotten into 2025, he's been the best player in the country. I do think Broome won the non-conference, but I do think since we've gone to conference, it's been all Cooper Flagg.
Yeah, and, it scares me how low that is with all the Flagg talk, though, -155. But you would maintain people who are watching are going to consider this a closer race than maybe regular.
And it should be one of those things where if he does play this well, it just feels inevitable that he's going to win the Wooden Award. And, Janai Broome has had a great year, but I think it would be good for Auburn for him not to win. We'll see what happens. Let's talk about the Women's Wooden Award winner. Obviously, we have a heavy favorite at -210, talking about Juju Watkins. But you are kind of thinking about someone else, Sal, taking a big swing.
I'm always thinking about Hannah Hidalgo. Nah, maybe not always, but +220 here. And this will go against all I'm saying about Cooper Flagg, right? Because Juju Watkins, especially here in LA, getting a lot of buzz. I mean, you would think she's the only player in the league. But Hannah Hidalgo is on, which is probably going to be a 1 seed Notre Dame. She's a more consistent scorer, right? on a 1-seed team, like I said. But deep down, I still think they're going to give it to Caitlin Clark for the next 3 years, even though she's long past graduated. She's going to be fine.
They just keep giving it to her.
They just keep giving it to her. I don't see odds on her yet, but I would go Hidalgo plus 220 there.
I like that, plus 220. We got USC, UCLA, which also should be a really good
Sunday,
fun game.
right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So UCLA, there's also a chance for them to make some noise and
Right.
get in the mix. But right now, 3 players that are in the mix to win the Wooden Award, and 2 for the men. So those will be 2 fun future bets to make. Next up, let's do Big Ten regular season winner, Michigan State or Michigan. Who do you like, Sal?
I know you're Sparty. You like Sparty. I think you gave out a couple weeks ago. Sparty to get a 1 seed was like 6-1. That seemed good. They're tied right now. That was a big win for Michigan. I think they didn't even score 50, right, the other night, but they won that game. Schedule-wise, they each have 4. Like I said, they're tied in the division. Michigan State, slightly tougher schedule. They have Maryland and Wisconsin. They're at Maryland and then home against Wisconsin. Then they end March 9th against Michigan. Now, they beat them the other day. I think it was closer than this 13-point margin indicated there. Actually, I'm going to take Michigan here, plus 140 to sneak in. If they can win, if Michigan State's a little run down, their bigs can be punishing, and Trey Donaldson's fun when he's on at the guard position. So give me the plus money here. I know you like Michigan State.
I like the plus 140 there, and I do feel like Dusty May just had to go from worst in the Big Ten last season to go to first this year.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are obviously going to side with that team, so I like a plus 140. You can get something there, but this has been a Tom Izzo year. He broke the Bob Knight record. This group definitely feels like the 2000 team. There's some connective tissue between the guys that were on that 2000 team. Now we have their kids playing on the 2025 version, with Jace Richardson as the example. So being able to pick them, and I think they're going to struggle at Maryland, but minus 120.
Was
I'll
the
go with
Suns
Michigan
owner
State.
on that 2000 team?
Yeah.
He was, right?
Yeah,
That was in
there
the
you
Team
go.
Cleveland?
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
All
good
right.
times. But I like that matchup, Michigan State versus Michigan. That's good
fun.
for college basketball.
That's a fun one. I think that's on. It might be Selection Sunday. Is that when they match up?
I like it. Next up, we'll do a line look ahead. College hoops play of the day. These are anybody that's watching games on Wednesday night. Who do you like here, Sal, for Wednesday?
All right. I want to be a little stable here. We got to start picking winners here, right? Kentucky. Minus 1.5 over Oklahoma. This Kentucky team, I know everybody loves the SEC, and there's going to be like 47 SEC teams to make the tournament, but they're at 500 now within the conference. You can't start going below 500. You can't go 2 games below 500 and expect that the committee is definitely going to do right by you. They have this game, and then the weekend they're playing home against Auburn. So if you lose those 2, you're in trouble. I think they're going to take this game. I like this. Otega Owa, right? Terrible game against Bama, but I think he was like 1 for 9. He's got his coaches supporting, Coach Pope. I like Kentucky here, 77-70.
And it does feel like Kentucky, they're just waiting for everybody to get healthy. And once everybody is healthy, they can obviously make a run. Once
But it can't be too late.
Yeah.
You can't go 3 games under 500, right?
Yeah, true.
All right.
It's true. And Oklahoma's trying to make that turn. They're trying to stay in the mix, and hopefully they can make the tournament as well. You like Kentucky. I'm going to take Maryland over Michigan State. I just feel like Maryland's fan base, they're all the way locked in. They love this group. It's a very fun team. They're calling them the Crab Five, which I think is a great
that's
name.
fun.
Yeah, there's like 6 guys that really play for this Maryland group,
Right.
and they're all the way in. They're locked in. So I'm going to take Maryland over Michigan State.
That
-162.
nickname has been there for the taking for decades and decades, and they just wanted a team good enough to label them the Crab Five.
The Crab
right?
Five. It hits.
Interesting.
Anytime you see the Crab Five anywhere, you just start.
Hopefully it holds.
Yeah, you start pulling for them. So Maryland, a team to watch out for. They've had a really good year, and it does feel like they're, moving in the right direction if you're a fan of that team. Last thing, let's do the Tate debate.
Okay.
I say to you before
This is your
we let
favorite
you-
game,
yeah,
right?
It's my second favorite game. Video review has gone too far. We have too many reviews that are happening in every sport, whether it's baseball, college basketball. Now these games are going 2.5 hours as opposed to 2 hours. These games are all going long. ESPN News has turned into, or ESPN News has turned into like basically any team that's waiting to start their game. They're 20 minutes behind. So it's everywhere. So reviews are everywhere. How do you feel about that?
All right, I'm so torn on this because you're right, and I feel like especially with college basketball, that last minute takes 20. It's bad because we have to see if there's 2.6 seconds left or 2.3. I can't stand it. On the other hand, I like review. I don't want like some 75-year-old part-time official deciding the wrong team going to the World Series or the Super Bowl or the NCAA championship. So I do kind of like it. And then again, on the other hand, I don't love what's going on with baseball, what's going on with the pitch review. I know this is just for spring training right now. I like when managers come out and fight and argue and do like that. And if you're going to take the ball strike part of it away, then there's no room for that. What's the point of the Yankees allowing you to grow a mustache if Boone can't come up there and show his beautiful mustache while he kicks dirt on an ump?
Yeah, I think we're all too smart. We're all doing a little bit too much, and sometimes we got to let some random things happen for these games.
I'm not too smart, yes. Yeah.
Well, speaking of, where can we find all your work? And then we'll let you go enjoy the rest of your day.
Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend, Friday morning, right here on FanDuel TV, Against All Odds podcast on the Ringer Podcast Network. Couple times a week, and then I'm here with you, Tate.
Oh, it's the best. We appreciate you coming on the show as always. Stay tuned. We'll be right back on the other side. We got John Jastremski joining the show. We'll see you on the other side of the break. Welcome back to Thru the Ringer. Joining us now, John Jastremski. He is here, and we got a lot to get to. We're going to talk about Rick Pitino, but we're going to talk about the Knicks first and foremost. Before we get into all the basketball talk, how you feeling? You know, we're done with the NFL season. How you holding up, JJ?
Hey, we're holding up much better this week as opposed to last week when it was like frigid and disgusting and miserable in New York City. Now it looks like there are some signs of life. The sun is out. It's staying light beyond 5:30 in the afternoon. So we're hopeful that the spring is going to be a little earlier than expected. That would be nice.
I like it. I like that we're moving in the right direction. I like that we got better days ahead. Let's talk about the New York Knicks because they're the talk of the town. It's been a lot of positive talk and a lot of conversations, but against the top two teams in the East, they have struggled. They struggled against the Cavs. They struggled against the Celtics. Let's just talk about this group right now. How is the vibe in New York City talking about the Knicks right now?
I think the fan base, Tate, despite the record, and the record is very good, and I understand where the Knicks have been as a franchise in the past, but when you had the last 2 years getting to the second round, I think expectations were ratcheted up going into this year, and there's a lot of disappointment because of the fact that the Knicks have been atrocious against the best teams that the NBA has to offer. It's not a coincidence to me that they are 0-7 against the Celtics, the Cavaliers, and the Oklahoma City, and especially those matchups against the Celtics, they've been flat out non-competitive. I mean, when you lose those 3 games by a combined 63 points, it kind of gives me vibes, Tate, and I know you're going to understand this one. The audience is going to understand this one. My New York audience doesn't like it one bit, but the Knicks are giving me 2023 Miami Dolphins vibes. They really are. They're fun to watch. They're going to win a whole lot of regular season games. But when they go up against the best that the sport has to offer, they can't get it done. And it's due to the fact that they can't defend at a high enough level. The Celtics can exploit some of the liabilities defensively for Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. And then Mikal Bridges, my goodness, you gave up 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. Can you show up in one of these games against the Celtics? My goodness.
Is there any chance that you think this group, maybe, Tibbs, they're saving things from the playoffs, right? Where they're playing these top teams. Like you said, they've struggled against the best of the best in the NBA, but are they trying to save themselves where maybe they show a little something we haven't seen in the regular season, they save it for the playoffs?
I sure hope so, Tate. I'd love for that to be the case, but I can't let an 0-7 record now against the 3 best teams in the league fool me into that sense of security. And I know some Knicks fans are going to look at Mitchell Robinson, who, yes, is a tremendous defensive rim protector and in theory would help you against Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. And you want to tell me he'd help your defense a little bit against the Celtics? Great. Do I think he's going to solve all of the woes they've had against Boston? And listen, Boston could do that to a lot of teams, Tate. There's a reason why they're the defending champs. They got everybody at least 6'5". Everybody on the floor can shoot. They just happen to be a matchup nightmare for the New York Knicks. The Knicks just do not match up well with the Celtics. But I think what's bothering the city and the fan base is with the moves that were made this offseason, I think a lot of Knicks fans thought maybe they had closed the gap. Not so much.
Not so much. I did see Karl Anthony Towns, who obviously has been a bright spot for this group and obviously has embraced being in New York City. He said that they are a work in progress. They're still trying to get there. Do we treat this like a year zero situation where like next year we have more expectations and suspect them to be a team, or should we be feeling that way right now?
I'm not there, Tate. No, I don't look at it as a year zero. To me, they've been in the playoffs and in the second round of the playoffs each of the last 2 years. Now, you were right. Karl Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges were not a part of those teams. And the team that went to the second round and lost to Miami was different than the team that lost last year to Indiana that, let's be real, would have beat Indiana if OG Anunoby didn't go down with an injury in game 2. I think we all know that would have been the case. But no, I don't look at it that way, because these moves were made to go and accelerate where you stand within the Eastern Conference. And the reality is the Knicks, to me, are pigeonholed as a team that's going to be, hey, one of the 5 or 6 best teams in the NBA. They're going to win north of 50 games. They're going to win a first-round series. But I have no reason to believe, Tate, that if they match up with Boston in the playoffs, it's going to be any different. Until, of course, I see otherwise.
Yeah, and there are some things that could happen. I did want to ask you about the East. Is it a two-man race or a two-team race right now where it does feel like Boston and Cleveland are going to be the 2 teams that meet in the end? Or do you think like maybe Milwaukee comes out of the mix, or maybe it is the New York Knicks that are one of those teams? Like, are we at the point now where it's a two-man race, or do we think that there are some bigger picture things that could happen?
Here's the problem for the Knicks. I like their chances a lot better against Cleveland, despite that beatdown they gave them on Friday night. I just think they match up better with the Cavs. Remember, they beat the Cavs in the postseason 2 years ago. The Celtic matchup is just so problematic. And the way the Eastern Conference shakes out, the Knicks are kind of positioned to go and be the 3 seed. The Celtics, unless something crazy happens, they're not going to jump Cleveland. So that pecking order within the East is going to be Cleveland 1, Boston 2, Knicks locked into that 3 spot. Hate the matchup against the Celtics. And then you want to tell me Cleveland? Let's put it this way, Tate. I think it is far more likely somebody picks off Cleveland than it is the Knicks go and pick off the Celtics. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. I think you're right there. And I do think it's going to be fascinating to see what this group looks like once we get to the playoffs. And obviously, a lot of people in New York City will be talking about this Knicks team. They're obviously talking about Rick Pitino right now. St. John's is on top of the world. They just beat UConn in Madison Square Garden. Rick Pitino had a field day after the game where he was talking about maybe next year they play at Carnesecca. What is it like in New York right now to have Rick Pitino kind of be the talk of the town?
I think the St. John's fan has been looking for an NCAA tournament win for the last 20 plus, 25 plus years is salivating over this one. And Tate, you know it's a pro sports town. New York City is a pro sports town. So it takes a lot for a college team to captivate the imagination of the people walking around the 5 boroughs. When Rick Pitino's the head coach, when you play this sort of defense, and when the team has taken on the personality of its head coach and they've taken on the personality of New York and the city, it leads to this sort of feel-good, fun vibe that you have in Madison Square Garden regarding St. John's. And listen, we talked about it when you came on New York a couple days ago on New York, My Pod. They're a team that's capable of winning multiple games in March because they're well-coached, they're tough, they're a tough matchup for a whole lot of teams with the athleticism they're going to throw their way. And it's no fluke what they're doing in the Big East. I know it's not the same UConn team that won back-to-back championships. I think we'll all agree on that. However, to make the statement they have, going into stores and beating them in Connecticut and then absolutely wiping the floor with them on Sunday, they're the best team in the Big East. And they have Final Four potential if they get the right bracket and they get the right draw.
Yeah, plus 440 to make the Final Four right now, plus 2,800 to win the national championship. And this group, I mean, across the board, I mean, you kind of fall in love with different players depending on the night. They don't really have to shoot well. They can defend really well. It's all Rick Pitino kind of checking that box. Do you think that they can do a 1999 Sweet 16 run like they did, back with Ron Artest? Or is there a situation where, this team could be even better and they could go and maybe win the national championship?
I don't know if they have national championship written all over them, Tate, just because I don't know if they shoot the ball well enough. And I do think at some point in time that could be something that ends up being their bugaboo. If you go up against a hot shooting team and all of a sudden St. John's doesn't have an answer and they have to play from behind, I don't love that from their standpoint, but I think they can get to a Final Four.
When was the last time that you saw kind of St. John's have this buzz in the city? Has it happened this century? Like, is it something you remember when you were a kid? Like, it just feels like it's brand new stuff for this group.
End of the 90s. The Ron Artest group that you mentioned with Mike Jarvis. I mean, other than that, they had one, decent year with Steve Lavin. They made the NCAA tournament. They lost to Gonzaga. The Chris Mullen hire had a lot of buzz when it happened. Chris, Hall of Fame player, didn't have the same results as a coach. Yeah, you're talking late 90s when the Yankees were winning 4 out of 5 championships, Tate. This is the last time St. John's has had that sort of buzz within the city. And I know the Big East tournament in a couple of weeks at the Garden is going to be a rather hot ticket with the possibility that St. John's could be the number 1 seed. How many times, Tate, did St. John's fans on Thursday have to go see them when they were an 8-9? Now they get to go see them after they enjoy a double bye potentially. That's a much better place to be.
It's a much better place, and you can tell Rick Pitino is kind of the talk of the town. Everybody seems to be pulling for him. This is a guy that was off the beaten path. They said he would never coach college basketball again, and now look what he's doing at St. John's. So there you go. There you have it. Rick Pitino's doing some good stuff. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk some MLB with JJ. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Thru the Ringer. We're here with John Jastremski, and we just made sense of what's happening on the basketball side of things in New York City. Shout out to the Knicks. Shout out to Rick Pitino. Now let's talk some baseball. The Yankees, obviously the talk of the town in their own way, talking about some big picture changes. Now guys can have beards. We can talk about that if you want to. But extending Aaron Boone, how do you feel about that news, and how are people reacting to that kind of cycle of news getting everywhere?
Not the least bit surprised, Tate. Look, the Yankees didn't make a managerial change after they lost a wild card game in Boston in 2021 when Aaron Boone's contract was up. They did not make a managerial change when they had a sub 85 win type of season in 2023. You go to the World Series for the first time since 2009, the Yankees were going to reward the Yankee manager with a contract extension. I don't think the Yankee fan is totally in love with Aaron Boone. I think the members of the media want the Yankee fan to be in love with Boone because he's a nice guy. He's good with his players. He's, exactly the sort of front man I think the Yankee brass is looking for. But the reality for Aaron Boone is he has not won a championship. And when you're a Yankee manager, that's what you're judged on. Sorry, period, end of discussion. You have to win a championship. So it's pretty simple to me. His contract now goes through the 2027 season. He has this year and 2 more years, basically. He needs to go and win a championship. That goes for him. That goes for Aaron Judge. That goes for Garrett Cole. Or he is going to go down. I don't care how many regular season wins he has. It is not Detroit. It is not Kansas City. It is not Cleveland. When you manage the Yankees, let's say now for a decade, and you don't have a World Series, it's an absolute embarrassment. So that's what's staring Aaron Boone in the face. You better go and get yourself a World Series.
And like you said, JJ, there's an expectation, not just to get to the World Series, but to win the World Series when you get there. They obviously lost to the Dodgers last year. That was a big matchup. Right now, if you look at the odds, plus 280 to win the American League, plus 700 to win the World Series. How do you feel about those odds? Do you like the number there, plus 700 for the Yankees?
So I think they're the best team in the American League. Now, here's the question. What's this lineup look like without Juan Soto? Last year, the Yankees 1-2 punch, carried them to the division, and carried them through the postseason. It was Aaron Judge and Juan Soto leading the way. Now Juan Soto is a New York Met. So the Yankees are going to have to do it differently. That means run prevention. They add Max Fried. That's a hell of a 1-2 punch with Garrett Cole atop of your rotation. They add Devin Williams, who can now grow his beard back. I think he will help the bullpen alongside Luke Weaver. And I think the Yankees, from a pitching standpoint, are at a better spot than what they were a year ago. However, if they're going to be the best team in the American League, they need answers offensively. That means Cody Bellinger has to have a good year. That means you got to get something out of Paul Goldschmidt. Can they find answers within their younger players? That means Austin Wells, Anthony Volpe, Jason Dominguez, just to name a few. But I don't love the American League. I still think going into the year, the Yankees, to win the pennant, are the team to beat. Are they the best team in baseball? Absolutely not. There are a couple teams in the National League, Tate, I like a little more than the Yankees. They're in the right league. I'd pick them to get to the World Series, but they're far from perfect.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Let's talk about Aaron Judge. His odds to win AL MVP, plus 300 right now, plus 270 to be the home run leader. Do you like Judge having a year like that where maybe he sends a statement to say, I am the superstar that you expect me to be for the Yankees?
So it's never a question about Aaron Judge and what he can do from a performance standpoint. It has everything to do with a durability question. And we saw 2 years ago, the Yankees season went off the rails when he had that awkward collision into the wall at Dodger Stadium, missed 6 weeks. Yankees were on the outside looking in. He is going to flat out rake. The question is going to be, though, Tate, with Juan Soto not hitting in front of him, are teams going to pitch to Aaron Judge? That, to me, is the $1 million question here. He's going to put up numbers. He's going to get on base a ton. But will you have managers throughout the sport basically say, hey, we don't care who beats us within the Yankee lineup. It's not going to be number 99. That's why from like an MVP standpoint, a home run title standpoint, maybe I'd have some skepticism, because is he going to get a ton of pitches to hit? That's the $1 million question.
I think it's a great question. He's minus 108 to hit 50-plus home runs, but plus 420 to hit 60-plus home runs, which is probably going back to what you're saying, where there are some at-bats that just won't be there that he would have had last year that they're going to get taken away, and probably takes around 5 to 10 home runs away, and that's why you see kind of minus 108 to plus 420. So you do feel like somewhere within like the 50 home runs, maybe 54, 55 feels like the sweet spot for him this season.
Yeah, I was going to say low range in the mid to high 40s. I'd say high range in the high 50s. I don't think he's cracking 60 home runs again. Mm-hmm. That's just my gut feel. I'd say gut feel, how many home runs for Aaron Judge this season? I'll go with 49. How do you feel about that, Dave?
I like that. 49 is a number that I can get behind there, so I think that's a good call. Let's talk about the Mets, because the Yankees are always the talk of the town, but the Mets are fascinating. They're plus 650 to win the NL. Juan Soto plus 550 to win MVP. This is obviously Juan Soto's team, and this is going to be the start of their iteration of this group. What are the vibes around the Mets right now as we head into this season?
So everybody's giddy about Juan Soto. Of course, he homers in his first spring at bat, and he's a beast. I mean, we've seen it his entire career. Washington, San Diego, the Yankees last season. There's no denying that this guy is going to get on base a ton. He's going to hit for a high average. He's not going to hit 44, 45 home runs like he did at Yankee Stadium, but he's going to hit north of 30 home runs and be one of the best offensive players within the sport. The question I have with the Mets is not about their lineup. I think their lineup is tremendous. Lindor, Soto, bringing back Alonso, Vientos. I'm a big fan of the Met lineup. What's the deal with their starting rotation? David Stearns has a reputation for finding guys. They love this quote-unquote pitching lab they have with their pitching coach, Jeremy Hefner. Sean Manaea is going to miss time. Clay Holmes is now all of a sudden the Mets' third starter, the same Clay Holmes who lost the closer's role for the Yankees last year. This is a rotation that, to me, has serious question marks, comparing themselves to the Dodgers, comparing themselves to the Phillies, even what the Atlanta Braves have at the top of their rotation. That, to me, is my concern with the Mets. Love the lineup. Think the bullpen's going to be pretty darn good. Is there enough there within the starting rotation? I think Stearns, despite their confidence in some of the guys that are kind of under the radar here, they're going to have to get an arm, I think, between now and the middle of this season.
So you do assume that there are some more trades to be made for this Mets team? Like they're still going to be trying to add some guys to this roster to really make a run. Like this is not the final version of this group.
No question. But Tate, I'd say that about almost any team within the sport.
That's true.
Now, you don't see the craziness at the trade deadline that you used to, because now with the added wild card, you don't have as many teams come the middle end of July that are completely cooked, that are completely out of it. It ends up being about 4 or 5 teams you're trading with. But I would fully expect that between now and the middle of this year, the Mets will go and add themselves a starting pitcher they think can help their team.
I like it. That's a good call. Let's do football here. Giants, Jets, obviously they're near the top of the draft. There's going to be a lot of conversation about which team wants Shedeur Sanders. I've seen mock drafts with him going to the Jets. I've seen him going to the Giants. He obviously wore the Giants cleat, but there's also some rumblings that maybe a quarterback out here in Los Angeles, Matthew Stafford, could be a name the Giants go after. Do you think the Giants are going to make a big swing and go after a sure thing like Matthew Stafford, or do you think they look for someone in the NFL draft?
Well, I think they're keeping their options open. They know they have to go and get themselves a quarterback. If they end up going down the road of Matthew Stafford, it's going to be very costly. I mean, Stafford, if he leaves the Rams, he's not leaving because of the situation. He's leaving because he wants to get every last penny. And my question for the Giants is, yes, Matthew Stafford has a Hall of Fame resume. He's had a tremendous career. He makes the Giants a better team. But what's the ceiling there? Like, you're not as good as the Eagles. You're not as good as Washington. Are you sure that the Giants with Stafford are as good as the Dallas Cowboys? This situation to me calls for getting a younger quarterback in there. Now, it takes two to tango. If Cleveland and, of course, the Tennessee Titans want to go and take quarterbacks 1 and 2, that changes the calculus. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of rumbling between now and next week, now and the end of the month, as far as what these teams are looking to do, first with free agency and then, of course, with the NFL draft. I would prefer, Tate, they go and draft the quarterback, because to me, they are not a Matthew Stafford away from being a legit bona fide contender within the NFC. I don't see it that way. And for what it's worth, Matthew Stafford, if you're listening, you got a great situation in LA.
Yeah.
You want to be playing against the Eagles in Washington in cold weather on a team that's not as good, that's not as well coached. Money talks, but good luck.
Do you think we end up in a situation where both the Giants and the Jets end up having younger quarterbacks? Like both sides decide that, hey, we've tried to do the big swing. We tried to have Daniel Jones as our franchise guy. Didn't work out. We tried to have Aaron Rodgers come in and make a 3 to 5 year window run. Didn't work. Do you think both franchises are going to reset right now in this draft?
Well, I think the Giants would love to. We'll see how it works out with Stafford. If they don't end up with Stafford, they will in some capacity. And the difference, Tate, between where the Giants and the Jets are at, the Giants kept their infrastructure in place. They are feeling the heat. They are feeling the pressure. They have to get a quarterback in here who's not a bridge guy. Mm-hmm. The Jets, it's a new regime. Now, I don't know why the bridge guy is not Aaron Rodgers. To me, that absolutely made no sense. I think the Jets completely got it wrong. They're going to try to sell you on Tyrod Taylor or Justin Fields or whatever. They have time, though, to go and draft a quarterback. They don't have to do it this year. The Giants, if they miss out on Stafford, Shane and Dable's jobs are on the line next season.
Absolutely.
The only way they can kind of get themselves another year is coach up a young quarterback and sell them on the idea of progress. You can't do that if you go and get Kirk Cousins to be a quarterback, you know?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it's going to be fascinating to see what they end up doing. I do think Stafford, what he decides to do, will be fascinating. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers, what he does. Both of those guys will be talked about quite a bit in the offseason. JJ, you're the best. Where can we find all your amazing work? And then we'll let you go enjoy the rest of your day.
It's going to be loaded month of March. New York, following the Knicks, all the baseball, the craziness with the Jets and the Giants. And then, of course, our gambling show, East Coast Bias, which can be found on Thursday mornings right here on FanDuel TV. So New York, East Coast Bias. Work never stops, Tate. Get me the selection Sunday, buddy boy.
I love it. I'm ready to talk some March Madness with you. We appreciate you coming on the show as always, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
Anytime, dude.
There you have it, another edition of Thru the Ringer. Thanks to Cousin Sal, as always. Great to have him back in studio here in Los Angeles. Always a good time. And thanks to John Jastremski for hopping on the show. There's a lot happening in New York, so appreciate him. As always, jumping on the show. We appreciate you watching the show. This has been Thru the Ringer, and we will see you next week.